Students, welcome to the last train 4.2 and we are going to commence on the first part of the topic, which is isomerism. Now in this topic we are going to be looking at organic chemistry and study some organic compounds. Organic chemistry is a study of carbon compounds which extends to the understanding of chemical reaction in living things and products derived from them. There are numerous examples of organic chemistry in our everyday life. Some of the examples of organic compounds which we are using in our everyday life include polymers. Okay, they are long chain molecules, and many polymers that we encounter every day are nylon, acrylic, PVC, polycarbonate, cellulose, and so many more. Petrochemicals, these are chemicals which are derived from the crude oil or petroleum. And from fractional distillation, the raw material and other organic compounds are separated out according to their boiling points, such as gasoline, plastics, detergents, dye, food additives, natural gas, and medicines. Now, although both are used for cleaning, soap and detergent, okay, that is, they are two different types of organic compounds. One of them is derived from animal fat to produce glycerol and crude soap, while the other one is an emulsifier, okay, like detergents. Whether it is perfume fragrances from the flower or a lab, the molecules you smell and enjoy are an example of organic chemistry. Cosmetic industry as well is a very lucrative sector of organic chemistry. Chemists examine the changes in the skin in response to the environmental factors, and they formulate certain products which address skin issues. So most of the compounds that are found in beauty products, they are organic in nature as well. So let's look into what isomerism is and how we can manipulate the structure of organic compounds. Now, before we look into organic compounds and see how they are named individually, there are a few items that we need to understand first. We have to understand which part of the functional group in the molecule is polar and which ones are non-polar. Okay, so when we are looking at a compound which has more than one functional group, then we will have to determine which group does the molecule actually belong in. And to help us determine that, we are going to follow a table which tells you the list, the order of precedence of an organic compound. Okay, so if you look at this table here, you can see that carboxylic acid. This carboxylic acid is right on top. That means this one is more polar compared to the one which is right at the bottom, that's alkyl halide. So there is an increase in polarity going up. Okay, the highest precedence group, which is more polar, will always dominate the parent chain. So if you have an organic compound which has more than one functional group, you always look at the functional group which is more polar, and that functional group will be the one which will decide the parent chain name. Okay, and anytime a compound contains a double and a triple bond, these double triple bond have to be part of the parent chain. Let's look at one example. Now if you look at this example here, okay, there is a carbon compound which comprised of two different functional groups. So let's see what these functional groups are. We have a carboxylic group here, okay, this part here, okay, that is the carboxylic group. All right, and then we have another group here which is coming from the alcohol. So that part is derived from the alcohol. Now we have to decide, is this organic molecule a carboxylic acid or is it an alcohol? And to help us determine that, to this table here. If you look at carboxylic acid, it's more polar compared to alcohol, which is down here. So the one that is more polar will become your parent chain. Therefore, this compound is a carboxylic acid, and the alcohol group, which is the OH, will become the branch. So when we are naming it, this is how the name will be. 2-hydroxy, because the OH is on carbon 2. Always start numbering the carbon that is very close to the functional group. Our functional group, the dominant one, the carboxylic group. Okay, so this is the dominant organic group, right? That means that is your parent chain. Naming the organic compound, we will start our number from the functional group. So that's carbon 1, this is carbon 2, and this is carbon 3. And you can see that the OH is falling under carbon 2. So 2-hydroxy propanoic acid. Okay. Now let's study the different types of isomerism that are involved in organic compounds. Isomers are compounds which have the same molecular formula but they have different structural formula. And at ES13 level, we are going to be looking at two major types of isomers, namely structural and stereoisomer. Structural isomer itself is divided into three types. We will have skeletal isomer, positional isomer, and functional group isomer. Stereoisomer, we are going to be looking at the two types, geometric and optical isomer. So we are going to look at each of these isomers separately and try to understand how they are different from each other. Okay, so now let's look at our first structural isomer, which is called a straight chain isomer. A straight chain isomer is where the compounds have different carbon skeleton. Now, in order for us to create a structural isomer, what we will do is to change the position of the carbon atom only. We will try to manipulate the carbon structure only. Okay, so we are given one example, that's C4H10. What are some of the ways we can draw this structure? One way is to draw them in a straight line. That's a butane structure. So we will put all the 4 carbon atoms in a straight line. Okay. Up here we have 4 carbon atoms, so that's carbon 1, carbon 2, carbon 3 and carbon 4. So you can see I'm drawing carbon atoms first. Okay, the chemistry of carbon tells us that carbon is in group 4, which is why it will require only 4 electrons. That's the reason why carbon should always have 4 bonds. The number of electrons required by the atom is equal to the number of bond formed. So carbon, first one, okay, is having 1 bond already and it needs the other 3. So that 3 will be by the hydrogen atoms. So we have a CH3 here. The second carbon has 2 bonds already. It needs extra 2 and that will be the 2 hydrogens which will come here. Third one will have the same thing. You will have the 2 hydrogens here. Now the fourth one, which has only 1 bond, will now be having 3 hydrogens bonded to it. Okay, so this is how we can draw a butane molecule. Now if I have to condense this structure, condense means without showing the bond, all I will be doing is this particular group as 1 and I'll be writing that as CH3 bonded to the second carbon, which is having 2 hydrogens, so that's CH2, bonded to the third one, which is having 2 hydrogens, that's CH2, and the fourth one is 1 carbon and 3 hydrogens, that's CH3. Okay, now if I have to rearrange this structure keeping the 4 carbon and 10 hydrogens, what I will do is to take 1 carbon from the end, not from the middle but from the end, and place it in the middle somewhere. Okay, I have to take this carbon here. Okay, I'm going to take this carbon out and I am going to bond this carbon with this carbon up here. So if I do that, that carbon is having 4 bonds, this bond is going to break. Okay, so that the new bond is going to form. So now my structure is going to have only 3 carbon atoms. So we will have 3 carbon atoms left and the fourth one will be bonded here to the second one, will come here. So let's see how the structure looks like now. We will have the CH3 group still here. This carbon is having the hydrogen, so CH group. Okay, this carbon is also having the hydrogen here, so that's another CH group. Okay, and there are 2 hydrogens and this hydrogen that is coming out is bonded to this here, so that becomes CH3. Alright, so the hydrogen that has come out is going to join here. This carbon will go to the second one. So we will have CH3. So now you can see the structure has changed. Okay, so we have created a straight chain isomer where the molecular formula is the same but the structural formula is different. So how are we going to name such organic compound? The first thing we do is identify our parent chain. Our parent chain is a carbon atom chain which is the longest. So you start from one carbon which is on the end somewhere and keep going until you meet the last carbon. So some of the possibilities are, I can start from this carbon here, number 1, keep going to the second one until I come to the third one. So that's one way. If I use this method here, then I am going to have 3 carbon in my parent chain. Okay, that's one possibility. Is I can start from this carbon here, keep going. You can turn direction, but make sure you are going in one direction only until I come to the last carbon, which is this one here. So again you can see that I am covering 3 carbon in my parent chain. Alright, possibility will be from this carbon at the end, keep going and go up. You can see I'm still having 3 carbon. Whichever direction you go, you must make sure you have the largest number of carbon atoms in the chain. That is your parent chain. So I decide to choose this way here. Okay, and if I do that, then I will have to number my carbon atoms. Anything sticking out from the parent chain will be your branch. So the parent chain, this is carbon 1, that's carbon 2, that's carbon 3. So the name will become propane. 3 carbon is propane. The group that is attached to the parent chain is your branch. Now your branch contains 1 carbon, so it's a meth group, and because it is CH3, it's a branch, the name is going to end with YL, so it will be methyl. Now look at the position of the methyl. It is on carbon 2, so it will be 2-methyl. Okay, and then you put the parent name, which is propane. So that's 2-methyl propane. Therefore, the structural isomer for C4H8 are 2 of them, butane and 2-methyl propane. Now we look at the second type of structural isomer, which is called a positional isomer. In a positional isomer, the position of the functional group is going to change. So let's look at one example. We have C3H7OH. The presence of OH in a molecule indicates that it's an alcohol. So there are, let's see how many possibilities we have to position the OH group. Number 1, we can have all the 3 carbons in a line. CH3 attached to CH2, which is attached to another CH2, and then we have the OH. So all the 3 carbons are in one line. And the carbon which is attached to the OH will become the lowest in number. Okay, so the carbon attached to the OH will be carbon 1, then we will have carbon 2, and then we will have carbon 3. So our OH is attached to carbon 1, and since there are 3 carbons in the parent chain, the prefix will be propan. So we will say propan and then put the position of the OH, which is 1, and then because it's an alcohol we say ol, propan 1 ol. Okay, let's see another possibilities of drawing this molecule. So there is another way of drawing this same molecule, and that is in a structural formula. The format of drawing is called a condensed structural formula, where I am not showing all the individual bonds. But this one is a structural formula where the carbon is bonded to the 3 hydrogen atoms, that's CH3. Second carbon is CH2. Third one is CH2, and then we have the OH. Let's look at the next isomer. So we will have the CH3 bonded to CH, which is bonded to CH3. So what happens is the OH is now going to be attached to the second carbon. So if the OH is attached to the second carbon, the parent chain will still be carbon 3. So we number them carbon 1, 2, 3. In this case, it doesn't really matter which side is carbon 1 because OH carbon will still be carbon 2. So the carbon that is having the OH should always have the lowest number. Okay, the OH is our functional group. So now our parent chain is propan because 3 carbon is there. Position of the OH is on carbon 2 and then we put OL. Propan 2 OL. So you can see in both the cases the position of the functional group has changed. Thus we say it is a positional isomer. And we can draw it as such here as well, as you can see. Okay. Now let's look at the third type of structural isomer, which is called a functional group isomer. In a functional group isomer, the molecules will have a different functional group. So in this case, the functional group is going to change altogether. In a positional isomer, we kept the same functional group, which was OH. The only thing that changed was the position of the functional group. But here we will change the functional group into a different one. So let's look at one example. If I have to draw C2H6O, there are two possibilities of this molecule being drawn. We can have a CH3 on one side, CH2, and then we put the OH. If you count, you can still have 2 carbon, right? That's C2, 3, 4, 5, 6 hydrogen, and then 1 oxygen. So we created 1 alcohol. Okay, so that is how you can represent it in a structural format. Right, that's ethanol because there are 2 carbon. Okay, so this is the 2 carbon atom, that's your parent chain. So that is why 2 carbon atom, the prefix we use is ethan, and because it is OH we put the suffix ol. The other way we can draw an isomer for this molecule is to change the OH into a different functional group, and to do that we will create an ether where I am going to put the O in the middle and then put the CH3. So you can see now the stronger alcohol because there is no OH group. Okay, there is an O in the middle. This CH3 group is an alkyl group. Carbon hydrogen is an alkyl group. Then we have another alkyl group here, and sandwiched in between we have a oxygen. So we are going to say that this is a dimethyl ether. So students, there we have it. This is how the different structural isomers are going to be drawn. Straight chain isomer, positional isomer, and functional group isomer. They are all types of structural isomers. Now we are going to look at the second type of isomer, which is known as stereoisomers. Okay, so the first type of stereoisomer that we are going to be looking at is called a geometric isomer, which is also known as a diastereomer. Now, geometric isomers occurs whenever there is a double bond. Only in a double bonded molecule, geometric isomer is going to exist. But not all double bond molecule is going to have geometric isomer. Now, the reason why geometric isomers exist in a double bond is because the double bond carbon cannot rotate. Double bond is a very strong bond and you cannot rotate the double bond. Single bond can be rotated, but double bond cannot be. Now, geometric isomers can be called cis or a trans isomer. So let's look at some examples. If I have to draw this particular molecule, I can draw the molecule as such. So I will have a carbon bonded to a hydrogen and a Br bonded to carbon, hydrogen and a Br. Alright, there is a double bond. This is a double bonded molecule. Remember I said not all double bonded molecule will have a geometric isomer. Only those where each carbon of the double bond has 2 different groups. If I am looking at this particular carbon which is attached to the double bond, this carbon is bonded to a H and then to a Br. You can see that this carbon is bonded to 2 different groups. Same thing we look at, we have the same thing. So this is the carbon of the double bond. Groups are bonded to, so we have a 1 and 2 different groups. So every time the carbons in the double bond have 2 different groups, there will be a geometric isomer. Now there are times where we have molecules such as this. There's a double bond. Okay, we have a H. Now for molecules like this, there will not be any geometric isomer. Look at this particular carbon here, which is made as strict. It has 2 same group. So if a carbon in the double bond has two same group, there will be no geometric isomers. Okay, of the screen here now. Right. So let's look at the position of the different groups which are attached to the carbon. Two same groups on same side form a cis isomer. On the other hand, if I have a structure like this, let's see where the same groups are. Same groups are on the opposite sides. So that makes them a trans isomer. Okay. So students, a cis isomer is where you have two same group on the same side, whereas a trans isomer will have two same group on the opposite sides. Now let's look at the last type of stereoisomer, which is called an optical isomer. The word optical comes from light. That means this isomer has something to do with light. So let's see what optical isomers are. Optical isomers are known as enantiomers, which means they are mirror images of each other. If anything is a mirror image of any compound, alright, or anything, it will not be superimposed. Okay, they will not be able to overlap on each other. These enantiomers, they will have similar chemical and physical properties, but not very same. They will not be totally same. Okay, they will be different because they will rotate the plane of light in different direction. Each optical isomer will rotate light in a different direction, which makes their properties different. So let's look at an example. If you look at this molecule here, okay, this is an amino acid which is reflected in a mirror to give its optical isomer. So these two are enantiomers of each other. Okay, now you can see that there is a central carbon. This carbon, four different groups. So we have 1, 2, 3 and 4. Any carbon that is bonded to four different groups is known as a chiral carbon, which is also called asymmetric carbon. So an optical isomer will form in those molecules where there is a chiral carbon. Any molecule which has a chiral carbon will have optical isomer. Okay. Now I will tell you a story, a tragedy, where an optical isomer that was manufactured a long time ago gave rise to a lot of complications and a lot of problems. Okay, and the story goes back to 1957 in West Germany, where the chemical thalidomide was first manufactured. Now if you look at this molecule, you can make out how the mirror reflection is. Of a particular molecule, the molecules which lie on the left hand side will fall on the right hand side. They will reflect each other. However, they will be two different molecules altogether. So what happened with this thalidomide was, it was manufactured as a over-the-counter medicine, and it was made to cure morning sickness, tension, anxiety, trouble sleeping. Although initially the scientists thought that it was safe for pregnancy, there were concerns regarding birth defects. In 1961, now remember in 1957 this drug was manufactured and sold over the counter, and later in 1961 the medication was totally removed from the markets. And the reason why that happened was because a total number of embryos affected during pregnancy, okay, was more than 10,000. About 40% of these embryos or these unborn children died at the time of birth, and those who did survive, they had limp, eye, urinary tract or even heart problems. So you can see in this picture how thalidomide has actually caused a national disaster in that era. Okay, just a mistake of putting one particular optical isomer. Instead of putting one particular optical isomer in the product, the scientists use the other one. right? So you can see that if there is a slight mistake of choosing the wrong isomer, there will be disastrous effect. Okay, so now that we have come to the end of this particular video, I am going to give you people a question to think about. Which isomer do you think the following molecules have? Do they have geometric isomer or optical isomer? You can comment on these and write your answers in our chemistry forum, okay, under the video, or you can write your answers separately and you can text me so that we can have a discussion over that. Until then, I hope you have enjoyed the video. You have learned a lot about what isomers are, and at the same time do your exercises that are given in your notes. Take care, students, and we will meet in another session where we will be continuing the topic on 4.2, and we are going to be looking at the next part, which is called hydrocarbons. So take care and bye.